Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know, a podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 212, In the Name of the Brother. This episode aired on January 20th, 2013. It was written by Jane Espenson and directed by Milan Chelov, which I still can't say that man's name. But ironically, that is the same pair who wrote and directed the 12th episode of season 1.
Which was...
That was Skin Deep.
Gotcha. Oh, man.
So, I find it funny. I mean, I don't think that happens continuously, but this was one of those times where when I'm tracking these kinds of things, oh, that's funny. Before we get into our recapping and chatting, let us go into a synopsis for the episode. In the land without color. After it seems he'll have to pack up his work, Victor Frankenstein gets a generous donation from a new benefactor, Rumpelstiltskin. With this new money, he can continue his work, but while out looking for specimens, his brother is shot by a graveyard guard. He tries to use his new knowledge and a new heart to bring him back, but when his father rebuffs the idea, his reanimated brother kills their father. Victor sees that he hasn't brought his brother back at all, but he's determined to try. And in Storybrooke, after the accident at the town line, the strange driver, Greg Mendel, is rushed into surgery while Belle and Killian are being looked after. Our heroes argue over whether the outsider should be saved or left to succumb to his injuries. And while they make their decision, Whale runs away, too drunk to operate. After Ruby convinces him that he can make his name stand for life again and operate, Greg pulls through, although not without alerting his partner about what he saw. Meanwhile, Cora is out to find Regina. She offers Gold a peace offering so that he'll let them be, and once Cora locates her daughter, she convinces her that they can get Henry back for Regina together. After the long night, Gold knows where to find his son, and calls in the favor that Emma owed him from long ago, requiring her to come with him while he leaves town to find his son.
It's a Frankenstein episode.
It is a Frankenstein episode, so I did tell you that this was not the last Daniel was not the last Frankenstein's monster that we would see this season.
Yeah, that checks out.
So we do see another Frankenstein's monster. Also, but to be fair, This one is named Frankenstein.
And it actually works out. There was a line later on in the episode that made me actually kind of happy when he says, but everybody just thinks it's the name of the monster. And I'm just like, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for putting that in there, because that's right. Everybody always thinks that Frankenstein is the name of the monster. Now, if this one, yes, that is accurate. But
yes.
Mary Shelley's version, that is not.
No, it is not. But yes, in Once Upon a Time world, the monster is in fact Gerhard Frankenstein.
I wrote the proper response to Gold is screaming, because Belle is screaming, get away from me. And I'm like, that's the proper response.
To give Killian credit, he didn't kill her. He just took her from, his methodology was to take her from Gold, which I think honestly works just as well. It's the same kind of, it's a little, almost kind of more morbid, I would say, than killing Mila right in front of him, versus this is she's gone. You can't get her back, but you can look at her every single day. But she's here, but she's not here.
It definitely tortures him enough to the point that it's oh, she's here.
Mm-hmm.
You can see her. She exists. She's alive. She has no memory of you, and she doesn't like you.
No, she's instantly why is this creepy man standing over me trying to kiss me?
Computer hacking and pickaxe hacking are different.
I wrote down, Katie is absolutely going to pull this line out.
Okay, maybe you know me a little too well at this point.
It is a Leroy line.
I did pull a lot of lines.
Me too.
This episode.
This one's got a lot of funny ones.
Of course, we knew Gold wouldn't help because it's Gold.
There'd be no plot if he did.
It's not really murder if we let him succumb to his injuries. That's a debate.
Depends on who you're asking. I guess to be fair, the Hippocratic Oath? First do no harm? Yeah, so first do no harm. Technically doing nothing would cause harm, but also... But
is he the one that caused the harm by, the car accident?
But it does bring in that question of, is doing nothing causing harm?
Yes.
Inaction can still be, in and of itself, its own action.
I have thoughts, though, because, they're he's really drunk, and he left, and then they find him, and they bring him back. I don't believe he's sobered up enough.
No, probably
then
not.
Perform surgery. So I'm like, oh, you found him. He can't perform surgery drunk, but let's do it anyways. And I'm like,
why not?
That checks out for Frankenstein, I guess.
Yeah, this is the once upon a time wibbly wobbly timey logic. Does it make sense? No. I do like this whole episode as one night for the most part.
I did like that. I love the black and white
Mhm.
world. I do like what is it called? The world without color.
It's the land without color.
Land without color. I do really like it. I don't know if it just gives me those, old-timey vibes with the old movies and everything else. Like, I love a good black and white film, so I can't be too mad about it. Like, I really do like that part. But then are you a philanthropist? I've been called worse. I was like, what is this episode?
Yep, that's Rumpel. That's Jane Espenson writing right there. I've been called worse.
And of course, Cora. We have Cora.
Cora wreaking havoc as per usual.
I'm like, oh, it's Cora time. Cora wouldn't just be nice. This all leads to something. And then just all caps. What? No, ew. No kissing gold. That is icky. You knew it was coming.
Oh, I absolutely knew it was coming. So this is a case of the scene between Cora and Gold is a scene that I have done for a bad impression voiceover because it was specifically requested.
No.
It is not one that I particularly have memorized still. I think I block it out in my mind on purpose. Like watching along with it, I remember what the lines are supposed to be, but I do remember that I very specifically cut it off before they kiss. Because I was like, I wasn't subjecting anyone else to that. There's something about Golden Heart is the name of their ship. Like, it's more age appropriate technically than Rumbel. I mean, we're taking Rumpel is 200 plus years older than most of the characters at the time that they were kissing on screen. But I would consider just like for age of the actors, Golden Heart is mildly more age appropriate than Rumbel. Because I did the math on the age difference between Robert Carlyle and every actor who he kisses on Once Upon a Time on screen, because I felt the need to. So to be fair, the most age appropriate one is him and Rachel Shelley, who plays Mila.
Which makes sense.
She is 8 years younger than him.
Okay. I mean, that's like me and my husband.
Yeah, it's not terrible at all. Yeah. The next appropriate one would be Rose McGowan, who plays young Cora. She is 12 years younger than him.
That's not too bad.
Not at all, which ironically, Barbara Hershey is 13 years older than Robert Carlyle. I find that kind of gap kind of funny.
Okay.
That it's so like it's about the same age difference between the actors.
Oh god, how old is Belle?
Well, hang on, we're getting there.
Oh no.
There's more people. At some point in the show, I will not tell you when, but at some point in the show, he also kisses Lana on screen, as well as another actor who is the same age. You haven't met the character yet. But the age gap between Bobby and Lana and the other actor is 16 years. Which is, to be fair, when Golden Queen happens on screen, you'll have the same reaction to Golden Heart. I guarantee it.
All consenting adults.
All consenting adults, but like, it still is uncomfy to watch on screen.
Yeah.
The age gap between Robert Carlyle and Emily DeRavin is 20 years.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And like we've always said, we have nothing against Robert. Like,
no, nothing
actor. At all. This is anything against him. But like 20 years?
No, yeah, seriously. And like Bobby and Emily, like they have a wonderful relationship that like the two of them, like chemistry wise, like as people have just work very well together. It's just when you think about it too much, like I truthfully don't care about the 200-year age gap because that's fantasy that doesn't exist in the real world.
Yeah, that's a fantasy thing.
The 20 bothers me more than anything else, though.
Oh boy,
you're welcome.
So yeah, back to that. No kissing, Gold. That's icky. Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah, no. There's something about Cora saying, "I only know what you taught me, Master." I'm just like.
I think that's when I texted you. I was like, no. Oh God.
But you know what? Given what I had to watch for Bob's Burgers this week, this is a fitting, I don't know, retaliation, shall we say?
We're just going at each other this week.
But honestly, it might get worse when we get to the Miller's daughter. We'll find out your reaction when you see him kissing Rose McGowan, I guess.
Oh no. I am unprepared. At least with okay, Bob's is weird, but it's meant to be this way.
Yeah. But honestly, this point, Once Upon a Time is also meant to be weird. Truthfully, there'll be points where I'm like, how does anyone do this with a straight face?
They get paid to.
I guess. I mean,
that's the answer.
Her line of, "Aw, the crocodile snaps at the little bird." I'm just like, I don't. It works, but it's so creepy.
But on a lighter note, we just go into some light grave robbing, right?
Yeah, some light grave robbing, just a little
grave
bit.
robbing. And then I'm just like, oh my god, is his monster his fucking brother? Which, yeah. And then I got mad because I'm like, Frankenstein is not the monster's name. And then of course I'm like, technically within this, Frankenstein is the monster's name. And I got annoyed for a moment.
Yeah,
and that's okay. I immediately clocked that's not Henry.
No, that's the thing. Is so people say that Jared is not a good actor. Again, we've said he's a kid. I think he does a good job of playing Cora pretending to be Henry,
Yes.
because I even think Cora would have a hard time hiding being herself.
Oh, yeah.
I think he does a good job with that.
And then I wrote, oh, fuck, here we go. Because
yeah,
the two of the, like, Regina's seeing mommy, and I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. Okay, do you remember this? Did you ever have that store years ago, Charming Charlie?
Yeah.
I literally wrote, why does this room look like a Charming Charlie threw up in it?
The little bit. I love that room. Like, it's because it's such a stark contrast. It's so bright compared to everything else in the vault and all that other stuff. It's so opulent for no particular reason, and we never see it again, which is really unfortunate. We never see it again. They built this whole physical set to show, like, and like it's implied that that's where she's keeping her evil queen dresses, because we can see the one in the corner, but we don't see any other ones for any particular reason. But I love that set, and we never see it again.
It does look like a Charming Charlie threw up in it, though.
No, it does. Well, at some point in season 4, I think, for whatever reason, there was some kind of, I think, zoning dispute, because they stopped being able to use the interior of the mansion that they use for her house. So they just have her be, like, almost all of her scenes are inside her vault, because I'm guessing that's the soundstage that they built somewhere in the studio. But I wonder why they didn't bring that set back. Because it's like...
It's right there.
It's right there. It's so much more comfortable, clearly, than her just sitting on, like, trunks in, like, her main vault chamber room.
I'm just going to go with they had to return it all to Charming Charlie and didn't have the same set.
Yeah, let's go with that. They had to return everything. Well, to be fair, we've established they do get some of her costume jewelry pieces from Rue 21, so...
I did write, and I know I'm not going to know for a little while, because we're only... We're halfway through? And so I'm like, what is Cora's end game? I still don't fully understand. Like, I know she's there. She wants Regina. Narcissistic mommy issues. All the fun. I'm like, but what is the goal here?
Cora is always after the idea that love is weakness and power above all else.
Okay.
That is something that will always be at the forefront. Whether she's saying something else or not, power is always behind it. What power she could be seeking now is yet to be revealed.
That is fair. Of course, right after that is when Frankenstein, technically, kills dear old dad. And I was like, don't bring dear old dad back now, too. And I was like, no, we're not. He's not going to bring back his dad, who's been a dick. But I thought that was funny. Of course, that's where I wrote down, but everybody thinks it's the name of the monster. I was like, okay, that's a good line. Okay. I had a moment with this. Only in Once Upon a Time do you get lines like, hey, yeah, look, you're Frankenstein, and I'm the werewolf. I ate my boyfriend. Only in this frickin' show do you get lines like that. I was like, at that moment, I was, of course, going, who wrote this?
Jane Espenson.
Jane Espenson. Yeah, thank you.
Jane Espenson. Yeah, this thing is so Frankenwolf. That's their ship name.
No.
Here's the thing about Frankenwolf. I was unaware anyone shipped that unironically. I thought it was a joke, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Apparently, according to David Anders, so, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, I have no idea. This is just what the wiki told me. Frankenwolf was supposed to be a thing after season 2. However, Meghan Ory leaves Once Upon a Time as a series regular at the end of this season to work on a different show, so that idea got dropped. And then subsequently after that, he also left as like a semi-recurring character because he booked iZombie. So Frankenwolf was supposed to be canon, and then other things happened, and I'm so glad other things happened.
All I have in my brain right now, though, that I'm only laughing a little bit at is in the next episode, or in the next podcast episode, you guys will actually hear us talk about non-canonical. And that's all that's going through my head right now. Non-canonical. And then you start going in, they're like, oh no, it was going to be canon. I'm like,
It
nope.
was gonna be canon. I'm
Nope.
never in my life have I been so glad that Meghan Ory left the show.
Yeah, like that one was that no, I'm good. I'm glad that didn't happen.
We're good.
Emma's right. No parents needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like having that moment with her parents where she's like, no, we have to look normal. We are not all sheriff.
Yeah, it's the line is she's like, in the normal world the sheriff comes in and asks a few questions. She doesn't bring her parents with you, and then one of them said that's probably true, which was just funny. But yeah,
breaking Chip was really emotional, and I was sad, but at the same time I was like, this is gonna bring out a lovely side of Mr. Gold that we're all gonna, I'm sure, love to deal with, which I was right. And I'm curious to see how this is going to go when it comes to Belle, because he said that's her talisman and all these other things. But part of, like, while I want Belle to still be Belle, I'm perfectly fine with the fact that her and Gold are not together right now because of it. Because I get a break from it.
You do get a break from it. So the fact that the cup is her talisman, it is, and he's got magic. He's gonna make it.
Yeah,
like that. We don't ever see him reform it. I think it's just implied that he did because we see the cup back as it's supposed to. I believe. I don't. Someone can correct me, or we'll find out when we get probably to the season 2 finale. I don't remember if we see him rebuild the cup, but we definitely see the cup back in its regular, back together seamlessly. So it would be implied that he did use his magic. So there's another talisman of Belle's that, again, I always say, I've been saying, I'm not sure if this was ever an intended thing or Regina just made this personality to fuck with him. But there's another talisman that brings out a curse persona for Belle named Lacey, who, as I said, as opposed to everyone else's, which is kind of like removing a few parts of like their character, that of their personality that like would help them get through their interpersonal problems at the moment. Hers is a complete 180 flip. And where Belle brings out the best in Rumple, kind of, I say that in quotes, that's what the show says, Lacey absolutely brings out the worst in him.
Why am I excited for that?
You told me you weren't going to be excited for it, but I think you're going to like Lacey. Lacey is phenomenal.
Oh, I might like this. Okay.
Emily does such a good job with her. She's so good.
I like the chaos. You know me and chaos.
Yes, that's why we're watching the show. Exactly.
Okay. I have opinions.
Okay.
About Emma's entire interaction with the dumb dude. She is sheriff.
Yes.
Why does she go in there all awkward? I know she's nervous and worried about everything. Just get a police report.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, she hasn't been sheriff that long. If we're really doing the math on this, she's probably been sheriff a couple months.
But like, she's dealt with the law before.
Kind of. This is also someone not from Storybrooke, so like this is a whole new. And she's coming in with that new knowledge that she needs to keep this under wraps as best she can. Apparently, what Greg says that he knows it's illegal to text and drive in Maine is correct. The official ban on texting while driving went into effect in Maine in September of 2011. So it was actually legal at the time this would have been set. It was illegal to text, and I'm sure it still is, to text and drive at the same time.
I find it funny, though, because I think we got that law in Georgia way after Maine did. Yeah. It took us a little while to get to that.
I have no idea. But yeah, she's awkward because this is new territory. Not only is she getting she's getting a police report, but also she doesn't want any kind of paper trail. She doesn't want Greg to think that he's welcome to stay any longer than he needs to.
That's fair, I guess.
A police report might cause things to go through.
But like even just getting the information and not writing anything down, she could have made it seem that way.
Yeah.
Just made sense in my brain of like just get your information. Like you're sheriff, you can get the information you need. Mm-hmm. If he gives it to you, that's up to him. But at the end of the day, and so obviously lying, like her superpower.
She's emotional. The thing is, she's emotionally invested in him not seeing anything. So her superpower isn't necessarily working, which is unfortunate. Speaking of our stranger, Mr. Greg Mendel, the outsider, is played by Ethan Embry.
Okay.
For those who do not know him, he's an American actor. Before he acted in films, he was in over 100 TV commercials, apparently.
Wow.
So most likely, if you've seen a commercial, I'm going to assume in the 90s, you may have seen his face at that point. Some notable works include Sweet Home Alabama, Harold and Kumar go to White Castle, and Grace and Frankie.
I've seen maybe 2 of the 3.
He's one of Lily Tomlin's character. She's Frankie, I think. It's been a while since I watched it. It's been a while since I watched it. He plays one of her sons.
Okay.
So he's a main character. So
all right.
He's which, like, honestly, Greg versus Coyote is the character in Grace and Frankie. 2 very different people. He's really showing his acting range. He's a phenomenal actor.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he
lied though.
He lied. He told somebody something. I did love that his ringtone was Star Wars.
I did too.
Like, that's the writers,
and like her just being her and his phone. Like, I was like, why?
I don't know. The reason why it's just her and his phone, I think it's just because he's shady.
Ugh.
Weird.
No one likes that.
I don't want to say too much about Mr. Greg Bundell. I don't want to.
That's fine.
Because honestly, even if I were to accidentally let something slide, it would make no sense.
That's completely fair.
Which is, I feel normal for the show.
Yeah. That's why I'm just like, yeah, okay, on to the next thing, because that completely pans out. I did find it interesting that the Land Without Color is not in the book. Like, then how is Frankenstein there? I'm like, okay, wait, how did Victor get there? How did this happen? Who else is here that's not from this specific, the Enchanted Forest? Like, it's interesting.
Well, because we know that she was able to pull Jefferson out of Wonderland.
Yeah. So I'm like, she pulled certain people for certain reasons, I guess?
It's implied that what Regina said, I think, in the Doctor episode in 205 was, I brought who I wanted. It's implied that she pulled Jefferson and she pulled Whale basically as revenge for what they did with Daniel.
Ah, okay.
That's that's my interpretation.
Okay. Non-canonical.
It truthfully is a headcanon, but like, that's my interpretation of it. Is that she pulled specific people basically as revenge. Like, the idea is that I think without doing whatever else she would have had to do, it would have just pulled from the Enchanted Forest. But my guess is maybe she didn't want to, like, the thing about the reason why she wanted Cora killed was she didn't want Cora to come over because she was afraid of what might happen if Cora came with the curse. What could have happened, like, if she wouldn't have been able to even go through with it. Because my guess is she wasn't entirely certain if she could just take one person. She didn't want to risk Cora coming over, so Cora dead, not coming over with the curse. But that's not what happened, obviously.
And just the last little note, oh shit, he's gonna make Emma go and find the baby daddy. Like,
yep.
He of course doesn't know. I'm assuming at this point that relation, I won't know until I'm told.
Currently, no one knows that baby daddy is also Balefire.
Which I don't know how I'm gonna feel when I see all of this like come to fruition.
The reveal is so good, though. It really is such a good reveal, and like, I was in the camp of like, nah, they're not gonna do this. That seems too obvious.
But like, knowing that he's making Emma come with him, but like, and then of course that's how like the cup broke everything. He is really fucking mad of him being like, I will kill everybody, and I'm like, oh shit, Emma, go. And the thing is, like, she doesn't know either right now that like the relation. So what happens when? Oh man, okay, I know I'm gonna see it, but like when she finds out it's him, it's just gonna be like, the fuck? I'm assuming.
It's honestly a great scene, and it comes with a great blooper too, which is even better.
Like, okay, but like we said, I'm gonna start like filming myself whenever I watch these bloopers, because I seriously, I think that's like my most exciting point with all watching these seasons now. I know I've only done it once, but now I'm like going through season 2 after I've done it the first time, and I'm like, okay, I want to finish so I can watch the bloopers.
I know. Well, it's like we should we should make the video of you doing that like a Patreon exclusive. Like,
yeah,
Patreon,
we should.
If you want to see Katie's reaction to the blooper reel, because this episode came with another case of blooper brain rot for me of when Rumpel is about to at least kill Killian at the town line, and David's like, no, you can't do this. The blooper is the coverage of over Bobby's shoulder, so all you're seeing is Colin on the ground, and you hear Josh go like, you can't do this, and you're like, I can if you let me, and then all of a sudden you just hear Colin go, I'm sorry, he crushed me right in the nuts.
Oh no.
Just landed right on his crotch.
Oh no.
It's like the poor man.
I mean, it's like when you sent me the deleted scene too, though, like I really I'm in love with Killian, and you fully expected this. I think I love this man. And he's just he's so funny.
He's so funny. He is. I sent. I'll put the link in the show notes. I sent Katie the deleted scene from this episode that is required viewing because, as I told you, there's a joke in an episode in season 3 that only makes sense if you've seen this deleted scene. Because it's them talking first about, it's Mary Margaret and Emma talking about if Emma would go back to the Enchanted Forest, but then all of a sudden Killian just walks out because he picked the lock on the handcuffs, and she goes, "Really?" And he holds it up, "Pirate, like of course I'm able to do this." And then he's like, he holds up a thing of blue Jello. He's like, I don't know what this is. It was left on my tray. She's like, "It's Jello. It's food. You eat it." He's like, I thought it was a hallucination.
Like, it was such a perfect scene.
He's so
I'm like,
good.
I loved it so much.
Colin is just so good with the comedy of all of this. It makes it even better because he's good with the comedy, and it's like he says the weirdest stuff that you don't expect from someone with a British accent.
Yeah,
a lot of the time
we needed that comedic relief. I feel
we really did. So
they took it from us.
Well, Colin will be back. I mean, he's not gone forever, but I'm not certain. But I think this is the point in time when they needed to stop filming Colin from the waist down. I think at this point he broke his foot.
Which would make sense because even in that scene, he's like barely holding on.
Exactly. Like you don't see him at all. And like, I love that you can also like you can tell that like on the shots where he didn't have to move the stump, his arm is not in that sleeve.
Yeah.
His arm is absolutely just like next to him while like the stump prosthetic is just like on the side because that poor man spent 6 years with like one arm bent so that it would be at the same, so that the hook would be at the same length as his arm. The poor man.
Awkward. But that's what I thought of this episode.
Yeah. It is an episode, is what I can say about that. It is an episode.
We say that a lot.
We did. Most of what I pulled out is, I mean, I did a little bit of my analysis before, but I pulled out a lot of lines, because this is one that, even though the one bad impression voiceover I have, in fact, blocked from my mind, there's another one from this episode that is hilarious, and I'll do it in a little bit. So I wrote down when when Emma's talking to Killian in the hospital bed, he's asking for his hook, and he says, "Or is there another attachment you'd prefer?" And then I wrote down, "I used to call him Captain Pink Vibrator in the Tumblr RP community. Apparently this is where I got that idea from." Just let that sink in.
I just told you about how much I'm like loving this man, and then we add that on. I am sober. I am sober. I am sober. Okay, so I'm going to recite this little bit, and you cannot be mad at the fact that, yes, someone says, like, some kind of Frankenstein. I'm aware Frankenstein is the monster. We've already been saying, what the fuck in the name of Rachel Shelley the entire time. Not Rachel Shelley. What the fuck in the name of Mary Shelley? Almost there. Almost.
So close. So close.
So close.
The entire time. But so when, after Whale runs away, after they find his jacket, and, like, to be fair, he wasn't hiding the fact that he was drunk very well.
No.
Throughout the entirety of the beginning. Like, at one point he went, like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Spoken like a true drunk person, trying to hide the fact that they're drunk. But once they figure it out, and they're all just talking over each other very quickly, you just have Snow going like, maybe he didn't even run. Maybe choreographed him for some reason. I don't think so. He's been in kind of a bad place ever since he brought Regina's fiance back to life. Daniel, back to life, had his arm ripped off and put back on. Cool. Wait, Daniel came back? Like some kind of Frankenstein? That's Whale, the doctor. And Daniel says, what went on here while we were gone? It's that line. It's just Snow just doing, what went on here while we were gone? It's like, what did we miss?
What did we miss?
Like, seriously, what did I miss? Sorry.
No, great reference. We're good. Perfect reference.
Absolutely. But it's that interaction that, like, this whole episode is so punchy is the best way I think I can describe it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I like the pacing, again, of the whole thing mostly being over the course of one night, and then the way that it intersplices the stuff in The Land Without Color, like, so abruptly sometimes, like, just because it's for dramatic effect. Like, this episode tonally feels very different than other episodes that might be more romance focused. Like, it's just the editing of the episode and how they intersplice these things, whether it was intentionally, like, in this order or not, because as we've talked about with other episodes, they sometimes will shift around the order of sequences just because it flows better.
Yeah.
So in this case, like, it's the splicing of things so fast like that. It makes it almost horror movie kind of feeling, which I think was probably the goal.
It did. Well, when you add in the score with it too, the way they
Yeah.
had a lot of the music throughout the episode as well, very horror-esque, which I'm really appreciating with the Frankenstein episodes, because of course the other one was Halloween, but like this one still kind of mirroring that. It was super enjoyable for someone like myself.
Yeah. No, exactly. If you like horror movies, this is going to be your vibe. And I like this episode just for what it gives us. I find just the Cora scenes just entertaining as fuck at this point, because
I wonder why.
I have a problem. I pulled out basically almost all of Cora's lines from that first interaction with her and Regina in her vault. I wrote down, Cora, this is not how you make up with your daughter. Look at what you did. You took a perfectly good princess and you gave her anxiety.
Damn.
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Like, you took a perfectly good person. But I like that. Again, we were talking about Lana with her voice and how she does things, and sometimes you can tell it's intentional or not. And like she said in the commentary for Queen of Hearts, that like whether she wants to or not, Regina is going to fall into that kind of like mommy help me kind of mentality, whether she wants to or not. Because as try as she might, her voice still lightens around her mother, even when she's trying to be strong. It's instinctual that the second her mother's around, she turns into that little girl. Like she can't help it. Like you can almost like hear her like almost like fighting the voice drop in like in certain ways. It's just so good.
Which is another skill of Lana. Like, my goodness.
She acts with every muscle in her body. And it's phenomenal to watch. I do think that of everything Cora says in that apology, I think that I never should have made you marry the king is the most important part to Regina. Because, like, if Cora had maybe apologized for killing Daniel, that'd probably be a little bit better. But of the things that she says, I think that's the most important thing that she needed to hear. Was that Cora realizes that wasn't what was best for her, even if it is too late and the damage has been done. But I wrote out, for so many lines, I just put ma'am in all caps after them. It's like, you framed me for the cricket, temporarily, ma'am.
Right? Just temporarily.
Temporarily.
Just a little framing for murder.
Just a little bit. You wanted me broken. Receptive. Ma'am. Like, that's not good parenting right there.
As we say, narcissistic mommy issues.
Narcissistic mommy issues. And I'll skip one and go back to it, but then the one in the car when she pulls out the handprint, which I still don't entirely know what she thought the plan was there. She was going to act like she sat on something that definitely wasn't in Regina's car to begin with. So her line of...
And of course, Regina being like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like, but her line of, for mommy, that used to be you. Like, she's already broken. You don't have to go further with this.
I mean, that's Cora, though.
It is Cora. I think the most iconic line, and it continues on as the fandoms, most people would use Idiot 1 and Idiot 2 as their tags for Snow and Charming. Then we'll wake them up, Emma and Henry and the two idiots, and you can tell them that you lied. Like, truthfully, Idiot 1 and Idiot 2 being Snow and Charming is forever now a thing in the fandom after this. We're like, yep, that's it. That's all we need.
Okay, I like that, though. That's actually really... It's like endearing almost, but it's also not.
Oh, I wrote this down because I'm curious about this, and this was just me kind of writing things throughout the Frankenstein storyline. Because they make a point of bringing in the fear of fire, which is that involved in the book as well, or is that just from the visual depictions?
I will say it's been a while since I've read it, so I have not read Frankenstein since I want to say 15, maybe almost 20 years ago.
Okay,
which is hard for me to process.
We love that math.
If I remember correctly. Well, if I read it near the end of middle school. So, yeah, a little over 15 years ago.
Nice.
If I remember correctly, I think fire was that one thing that, like, if you see a lot of your Frankenstein stuff, like a lot of the movies, any references, he's always scared of fire. The monster is always scared of fire. So it actually is, like, if I remember correctly, is from the book. I need to reread it. It's been some time.
Gotcha. But...
Which, hey, we can actually technically add that to a thing if we want to, because it is possibly. It's been adapted a million times. I can't remember how long it is. How long is that book?
I don't know. That might be a little.
How long it's been since I've read it?
Yeah, I was like, I don't read a ton of classics, so I'm like, least for me, I'm just like, that might be pushing me a little too far out of my comfort zone.
Okay, I'm not making you read Dracula.
That's good. Thank you.
That one's a whole nother. Okay, what's worse, Dracula or having to go back and read? Oh, let me like. See, and that's my problem is I like some classics. I'm a big I love Pride and Prejudice. I absolutely love Jane Austen. But then again, who doesn't? And then I do enjoy Frankenstein, and also the 1818 text. It says 288 pages, so it's actually quite short.
Yeah, it's just dense from what I can remember.
Dense. Classics. I don't read a lot of classics. No. Could make you read Animal Farm again. When's the last time you read that?
I don't think I ever did. I think that was the year, because I think when Animal Farm was required reading, I think that might have been a year that I wasn't in honors for whichever class was reading it. Because I read 1984. I didn't read. I didn't read Animal Farm.
We did the opposite. I did Animal Farm. I've never read 1984.
Ah, okay.
I own it because I have my collection of classics, but
yeah,
I should probably eventually read that.
Perhaps. What I was saying about fire before is it's fine. We had a point. We're going back to it. I'm wondering for their case of this, I mean, because he died and his soul is brought back or reanimated somehow. Given what I know about how the underworld works for the realms of story, I'm wondering if the fear of fire is the soul remembering something from the underworld.
Oh, I'm curious. Now you got me looking something up.
I'm just saying, for the case of Once Upon a Time, not necessarily in text of Frankenstein. I'm saying, I'm wondering if that's their interpretation of it, because there's really no reason why he would be afraid of fire if he wasn't he wasn't afraid of it to begin with, when he was alive.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if in the case of Once
symbolism.
Upon a Time, yeah.
I feel like it's interesting because it's for both. Looking up into it, yes, their fire is used as symbolism within Frankenstein. So, of course, using it in the same sense, essentially, in this would also make sense.
Yeah, I think so. So I did like the globe trick to find
that was cool.
Faye, because I think the CGI in that was really cool. And this is not the last we see of this relative finding globe. I don't know what else to call it. I'm sure it's based on something. I didn't see anything in the wiki. But I did like it. I thought it was very cool. I do love the scene when they're all back in the loft right before he comes in and says, I'm calling my favor. You're get ready in an hour. We're leaving. So I feel like you could heavily relate to Emma telling Henry she really wants to go to bed, but then he keeps talking, and so she just lays her head very slowly on the counter.
Yeah.
I felt like you could that's a very relatable thing. But the line when he's talking about all the different realms of story and all of that, and then he just goes, "Oh, that's who Whale is," and then Emma goes, "Yep, but without the neck bolts." And then Henry goes, "The monster was the one with the monster was the monster had the bolts, not the doctor." I was like, "Good for you, kid." And then Emma going, "Either way, some of us having known him, it's weird." I'm like, "It's not weird. We're past it. We were cursed."
Yeah, bringing that back up.
It's just it's a good time to keep bringing that up.
She wants to get away from that so bad. She's like, "Please stop reminding me that I slept with Victor Frankenstein."
She does, but I think it's even funny because that is a little bit of their friend relationship kind of coming through, and she is trying to be like, "Okay, we're gonna put a pin in this," and Emma's like, "No, I'm gonna keep making fun of you for it because it's kind of funny now if you think about it."
You want the mother-daughter relationship? This is part of it.
Exactly.
Reminding you of things that you don't want to remember.
Precisely. So I do have a couple of fun facts, but why don't we do scores first, and then we'll close out with some more fun facts.
Okay. I gave plot and character 7s.
Okay.
I don't think it's a bad plot. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. On some aspects, I imagine Mary Shelley rolling in her grave. Personal, I gave a 6, so it's a 20. I feel like if that deleted scene you had sent me was kept in, personal would have been higher. Okay. And I don't know if it's just because of Killian or that they're still kind of focusing more on the main storyline a little bit of what's going to happen. Because I did enjoy the fact that, Snow and Emma are talking and they're like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? Are you going to come back with us?" And she's just "Now is the time you want to talk about this. We're dealing with things," but then still just Killian. Something about having him around makes for a good episode.
That's fair.
And then, of course, just having Belle scream at Gold is cathartic. So it is a 20.
Okay, gotcha.
So not like, oh my God, amazing. But not terrible.
That's fair. I mean, again, they're not all gonna be winners, is what I always say.
No.
And like, you're gonna have episodes that are not gonna do well. This one, despite the cringe, it's iconic for me for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So this one gets an 8 for character, because it loses a good chunk of its points off of Golden Heart.
No. I was about to say, that kiss alone was like, nope, I'm good. Please don't make me rewatch this. Don't make me rewatch this episode ever.
It's cringy, but it's something about it that I gotta say I like. I can't explain it, but so that's it's like an 8 for character. It gets a 9 for plot because, again, and this is coming from me knowing what goes on at the end as the season goes on. This, while it seems at face value like filler, sets up so much from every single angle. It's not just setting up like the adventure to go find Balefire, because there's gonna be more to come, obviously, with Cora and Regina now in Storybrooke, especially with Cora and Regina in Storybrooke with Gold gone. That's gonna set up a lot, as well as
think
Greg,
about that.
Yeah, as well as with Greg Mendel being in Storybrooke, an outsider being in Storybrooke is gonna. There's a lot going on behind the scenes right now that this sets up so much that in hindsight you see. So, and personally, it also gets a 9. So, because like it's got funny lines. It's got so much of the banter and everything. It just makes me really enjoy this one. So this one gets a 26, which ironically is the exact same score I gave the Doctor.
That's funny.
Which I find that entertaining.
Oh God, what did I give the Doctor?
I'm gonna assume more than a 20.
205. Okay, the Doctor. I gave it a 24.
Okay, so close-ish.
Yeah.
Which does make sense. So for a couple fun facts to leave us off, I always find this interesting, like when they shift around filming schedules. Apparently, all the shots they have of Rumpel spying on Frankenstein when he's at like the gravesite and all that other stuff, that was all of that was filmed during pickups while filming 214. I guess they had time and they had the right footage, like, let's just do this now.
Okay.
I don't know if that means they had to reshoot things. I'm not entirely certain how that works. But I like that they're filming stuff kind of out of order, just because if it works, it works, which I always find really interesting. And this is one of the most egregious oversights of continuity error that, like, you wouldn't notice, but the wiki pointed it out, and now I can't unsee it.
Oh, no.
The monitor over Greg's hospital bed reads, July 4th, 2009, which is wrong for a multitude of reasons. It is definitely not July, with how much people are bundled up.
Mm-hmm.
And as we established in the timeline of the show early on, the beginning of the show starts in October of 2011. So it's
need to update their system.
Yeah, they just slapped some numbers on there and called it a day. That's one that I'm just like, what is going on here? I don't understand it. It's confusing me. But what else is confusing me in this, I think this might have to be our last one. We'll see how we feel. Out of his entire family, why is Victor the only one with a random transatlantic accent? The father and Gerhardt don't really talk with much of an accent.
Oh, that broke me. I think he broke me.
It's like he made a choice. He made a choice and he stuck with it. But they didn't ask the other people that played his family to do the same thing.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burger Season 4, Episode 17, The Equestronauts, and Episode 18, Ambergris. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our new book club, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.